The discriminant is the bit that's under the square root in the quadratic formula. So the discriminant is the b squared minus 4ac part. And the notation for discriminant, what we sometimes capital delta, looks like a triangle. So the discriminant b squared minus 4ac is given by that symbol. And the discriminant tells us a lot about what are the roots of our quadratic equation. So if that discriminant is bigger than 0, so if the discriminant is a positive number or it's bigger than 0, then the graph of your quadratic is going to look something like that. And this shows us that we have here two roots. So the equation that you've looked at has two roots. That's seen on the graph by it crossing 2 times. If that discriminant is equal to 0, so if the number under the square root sign when you do your quadratic equation is equal to 0, then your graph will look a bit more like this. Yeah, that's just touching the axes. And that's because that said that the equation has one repeated root. And sometimes that's also said that it has two equal roots. Sometimes another way of describing that. So it's only crossing at one point. Crosses the axes just once. And the last situation we can have with the discriminant is that if the discriminant is less than 0 or a negative number. And we should know that if we have a negative number under a square root sign in that quadratic equation, then it's impossible to take the square root of a negative number. We don't take the square root of a negative number. So the graph looks like that, and we say that the equation has no real roots. So a quick example on this one. Find the values of the constant k, given that this equation has a repeated root. So as soon as you see anything about roots in your question, you're thinking discriminant. And a repeated root means that the discriminant is equal to 0. So looking at our equation, I can say that from this, a is 5k plus 1, b is minus 8k, and c is 3k. So my discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac, is going to have to be minus 8k squared, take away 4 times a, which is 5k plus 1, times c, which is 3k. And I know that that is going to multiply out to give me minus 8k squared will be 64k squared. This side is going to multiply out by giving me minus 4 times minus 12k times that bracket. So I'm getting 64k squared minus k squared minus 12k. And I can simplify that to 4k squared minus 12k. Now from the question I know that this discriminant has to be equal to 0. So I'm trying to solve the equation where 4k squared minus 12k is equal to 0. If I'm solving that and it's quadratic, I need to factorize. So this factorizes by 4k. We have 4k brackets k minus 3 equals 0. And if I've got two things multiplied together to give me 0, then one of them has to be 0. So either 4k is 0, which would give me that k is 0, or k minus 3 is 0, which would give me that k is 3. So two final answers. two values of k are 0 and 3.